Hello, my minnow-powered ladies. I taught you about minnow-power in the last video. It was all about what gets better at menopause. As you know, we're close to the end of our WHAM series. WHAM is the acronym for What Happens at Menopause. And you learned in the last video that a lot of things get better at menopause. Well, as you might guess, this video is about what gets worse at menopause. Now, I've covered a lot of the symptoms of menopause in the other WHAM videos, so you already know all of the following get worse at menopause. Your sleep, your energy, your memory, your mood, your cravings for alcohol, your skin, your hair, your weight, your vagina, your bladder, and your sex drive. So I'm not going to cover those again in this video. I'll refer you to videos 141 to 147. The key is to watch my videos in order. If you aren't watching my videos in order, everything will get a lot worse at menopause. This is video 149, and I want to focus on the disease risks that get worse at menopause. Most women focus on their short-term symptoms, but that's really missing the boat. The important stuff is the diseases. I often say hot flashes can't kill you, a heart attack can. So I'll present the diseases on which you need to focus and avoid at menopause. This is a video that could literally save your life. You need to watch it. Every woman you know needs to watch it. Unlike any video I've done thus far, this video will address all 6 of the diseases for which menopause itself puts you at increased risk. So it gives you a broad overview of the things that can really get worse at menopause. Here are the 6 diseases I'll address: heart attack, osteoporosis, breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, and Alzheimer's disease. First, and most important by far, is heart attack. You see, right there, you might realize that you were off track in which one is the most important. In video 145, on what gets harder at menopause, I explained what happens to your heart arteries at menopause. In essence, when you lose your estrogen, your heart arteries begin to harden. The harder they get, the higher your risk for heart attack. So it just so happens that this is the most critical and life-threatening thing that happens at menopause. Unfortunately, most women are completely unaware of the fact that they should focus more on preventing a heart attack than on anything else. Heart attacks kill 1 out of 2 menopausal women. Now, there are 2 reasons that heart attack is the biggest killer of menopausal women. First, most women don't even know it's the biggest killer. And second, they don't know the symptoms of a heart attack. They know the symptoms of a heart attack in men, but the symptoms of a heart attack in women are completely different than the symptoms of a heart attack in men. Women do not have crushing chest pain that radiates into their left arm. Men do. Women have jaw pain, neck pain, upper back pain, or no pain. Women may not even describe what they feel as pain. They may say it feels like tightness, aching, pressure, or indigestion. Here's the other problem. Public awareness focuses much more heavily on breast cancer than it does on heart attack. More fundraising goes toward breast cancer than toward heart attacks. More research is dedicated to breast cancer than to heart attacks. So most women have a completely upside-down perception of what's going on. Heart attack is the most likely thing to kill you at menopause. So when it comes to your chest, it's what's on the inside that is much more important than what's on the outside. Heart attack is the worst thing about menopause, and heart disease is the most likely thing to get worse at menopause. Heart attack is number 1. Now for osteoporosis. This is another disease that worsens at menopause and directly because of menopause. And it's another disease for which women are woefully misinformed. Osteoporosis is much more significant than breast cancer in terms of how many women are at risk and how many will actually get osteoporosis. 1 out of 4 women will suffer a fracture due to osteoporosis. Of those, 20% will die from a complication. Of the survivors, 50% will require assisted living or home health care. Just those numbers alone should have you saying, holy cow, that's a lot of women. Add to that the fact that women have the misconception that they can prevent osteoporosis by taking calcium, and you compound the problem. Add to that the misconception that dairy products contain a lot of calcium, and you compound the problem exponentially. Do you see why this video is so important? I've taught you in numerous videos that osteoporosis is due to estrogen loss, period. Osteoporosis is bone loss, and it's due to estrogen loss. Calcium has absolutely nothing to do with causing or preventing it. Calcium has to do with bone strength, not bone loss. So estrogen determines bone quantity. Calcium determines bone quality. But most women are under the illusion that they can take calcium and prevent osteoporosis. That is not true. And women who ingest dairy to get their calcium to prevent osteoporosis are at highest risk for osteoporosis. Okay, so the absolute worst thing at menopause is a heart attack, and the second worst thing is osteoporosis. Now we turn our attention to breast cancer. It is not the worst disease at menopause. It is not the most important disease on which to focus. Here are the statistics. Your risk of even getting breast cancer at all is 1 in 7 over the course of your entire lifetime. But your risk does not even reach 1 in 7 until you're 81 years old. And that's because your breast cancer risk increases with age. So if you break down your risk by age, it looks like this. From age 30 to 40, 1 out of every 252 women will get breast cancer. From age 41 to 50, 1 out of every 68 women will get breast cancer. From age 51 to 60, 1 out of every 35 women will get breast cancer. From age 61 to 70, 1 out of every 27 women will get breast cancer. From age 71 to 80, 1 out of every 25 women will get breast cancer. From age 81 to 90, 1 out of every 7 women will get breast cancer. So if you compare your risk of ever getting breast cancer with your risk of having a heart attack or a fracture from osteoporosis, here's what you get. Heart attack, 1 in 2. Osteoporosis, 1 in 4. Breast cancer, 1 in 7. Do you see why women's fears are so misplaced? Now, I'm not saying that these risks are the same for everyone, and I'm not saying that breast cancer is not a big deal if you get it. But the fact is that breast cancer is less likely to kill you than either heart attack or osteoporosis. Heart attack kills 1.5 out of 2 women who have a heart attack. Osteoporosis kills 1 out of 5 women who get osteoporosis. Breast cancer kills 1 out of 29 women who get breast cancer. And here's the other thing. Breast cancer is curable. That's why you probably know more women who have had breast cancer than heart attacks. Breast cancer victims survive. Heart attack victims don't. So much more money is raised for breast cancer than any other disease. And that's good, but it's also misleading in terms of what's worse at menopause. Despite all that money, we still don't have the cure for breast cancer. But the vast majority of women who get breast cancer do survive. My goal is to put some perspective on these things. It's not my intention to belittle any disease, ever. Next is uterine cancer. Now, women don't talk much about uterine cancer, and that's odd because uterine cancer is by far the most common female gynecologic cancer. Now, when I say it's common, what kind of numbers do you imagine? You see, most people hate statistics. They're confusing. So I like to put things in the simplest terms I can. So 3.6% of women will get uterine cancer, and 1.9% will die from it. Now, if we compare how many women get each of these diseases, the numbers would be as follows. 50% of women will have a heart attack, 25% will have fractures from osteoporosis, 14% will get breast cancer, and 3.6% of women will get uterine cancer. Do you see how different those numbers are? That means that uterine cancer is not common. And as I've taught you, it's easy to prevent. It tends to get mixed in with cervical cancer. As I taught you in video 7, your cervix is the door to your uterus, but the two structures are completely different. Here's an analogy. Your mouth is the door to your esophagus, but if you get mouth cancer, it does not mean you have esophageal cancer. Or, if you want to use an analogy other than cancer, your hand is connected to your arm. If you break your hand, it does not mean you broke your arm. So uterine cancer and cervical cancer are two completely different animals. Cervical cancer is more common in young women. Uterine cancer is more common in older women. So your risk for uterine cancer gets worse at menopause, but your risk for cervical cancer does not. That's why I include uterine cancer in the 6 diseases associated with menopause. And once again, most women have their facts all wrong about uterine cancer. Do you remember video 102? It's the one where I compared uterine cancer and breast cancer. And I compared them with regard to estrogen. The big question in that video was, which cancer is caused by estrogen, uterine or breast? And you learned that uterine cancer is most definitely caused by estrogen, but you learned that breast cancer is not caused by estrogen. Once again, most women have their facts upside down. They think estrogen causes breast cancer. Do you see the problems with all these diseases? If you don't have your facts straight, I can guarantee you that things are going to get worse at menopause. So uterine cancer is caused by estrogen, and you prevent it by taking progesterone. Now, for ovarian cancer. Now, ovarian cancer is rare. It occurs in 1 out of 70 women. Most of those cases are due to genetic mutations. The problem with ovarian cancer is that there are no early warning signs. There is no screening test. Most cases are already very advanced when they're discovered, and there is no easy cure. So while your risk for ovarian cancer is low, it is a very deadly disease. What most women don't seem to realize is that most of the risk factors for breast cancer are also risk factors for ovarian cancer. So it's odd that everyone is running around worrying about breast cancer, but not ovarian cancer. There are bunches of things that you can do to reduce your risk for both of them. A lot of those things have to do with your diet and lifestyle. Oddly though, most women won't do the things that can reduce their risk for both of them. For example, eating a 100% plant-based diet, exercising regularly, maintaining ideal body weight, and omitting alcohol. See what I mean? How many of those things do you do? And I'm not saying that they'll guarantee prevention, but they will greatly reduce your risk. I think you're starting to see some of these quandaries, aren't you? Okay, the last disease that gets worse at menopause is Alzheimer's. And the reason it gets worse is because your estrogen is what protects you from Alzheimer's. And when you lose your estrogen at menopause, your risk for Alzheimer's skyrockets. But there's something else that greatly increases your risk: not challenging your brain. This is another area where most women simply won't do what it takes to decrease their risk. I taught you about this in video 103. When I say challenge your brain, what comes to mind? Most adults do not challenge their brains much. They stay within their comfort zones. We get very lazy about even using our brains as we age, and the really challenging of it is almost unheard of. How many adults do you know who are going to school to learn something completely new? How many adults do you know that are learning a new language or learning how to play a new instrument? See what I mean? Kids do this stuff their entire childhoods. Why do we stop doing these things once we become adults? Failing to challenge your brain with new things is the very reason your risk for Alzheimer's gets worse at menopause. But again, when I tell people this, they respond with comments like, well, I read, or I still work part-time. The problem is that reading is passive. You don't have to work your brain. And working in the same capacity that you've had throughout your career is not new to your brain. It keeps your brain busy, but it does not do enough to preserve your brain. It doesn't challenge your brain. So there you have it, 6 diseases that get worse at menopause. And women are focusing on the wrong ones and refusing to do what they can to prevent the avoidable ones. I love videos like this that help you put things into perspective. When I talk about just one disease at a time, you don't get the same sense of comparison. In my webinars, I go through each disease individually. I teach you how to know if you're at risk for each, and I give you all the options in every category for decreasing your risks. I tailor everything to you individually, and it's really powerful. And I'll do the same thing in these videos, but it'll take ages to get through it all. So if you want to learn all this stuff pronto, watch the webinars in order. There's nothing else like it anywhere. And the earlier you get the education, the better the rest of your life. Or if you prefer to do this in a one-on-one consultation, you can. You just schedule one at my website, which is menopausetailor.me. So come back in a week and we will finish up this WHAM series. In the meantime, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be sure you've subscribed to this channel, and I'll see you in a week. Bye!